Hi, my name is Rebecca Sarchi, and it's my privilege and pleasure to be able to share with you some insights and thoughts into the neshama and davening and tefillah, and maybe the connection between the two and what goes on with the neshama in general. Has anyone ever mentioned to you that your life can change in a split second? Yeah, many people mentioned that to me, didn't really think too much about it, and then it happened. Our oldest child, 37 years old, father of two, his wife was 9 months pregnant with their third child, suddenly got a headache, a really bad headache, and he tried to sort this out himself during the day. It didn't work, and eventually told his wife to call Hatzalah to tell them to bring advanced life support when they did, and to take him to a specific hospital. He had worked for Hatzalah for many years, volunteered for them, and he understood how this worked, seemingly, and realized that he was in trouble. We got him to the hospital, and so began 18 days of sheer hell, watching our son slowly not be able to fight this brain aneurysm that they had discovered once we got to the hospital. So for 18 days, we sat in the hospital. We pleaded, we begged, we implored. We got Hashem. We got people the world over to assist us with this. We had Tilim groups going of 1,500 people on a Tilim group at a time. And this Tilim was just rolling over, perpetually rolling over. Didn't stop, 24 hours a day, to the extent that one of the doctors that was seeing to our son Chaim said to us, "I'm a non-believer, but watching what you people are doing, I might just end up becoming a believer," he said. It's unbelievable. People would come to the hospital and say even more Tilim. We were doing mitzvahs. We were davening. We were giving tzedakah to every person who came past in the hospital. We were giving tzedakah to people in the ward where our son was at the time. The doctors, the patients, the visitors, you name it, we were doing it. My sons were putting tefillin on Jewish people in the hospital. There was nothing we were not doing in terms of connecting to Hashem and trying to bring out the very best result for our son Chaim. Let me add over here that we're not in control of that best result. And maybe that's one of the important lessons and takeaways that should be from this video. So the days went on and people continued, and not only continued, but people increased in all their davening. More and more people were taking on mitzvahs. More and more people were saying extra tilim and davening more. But things were just getting worse. And eventually, sadly, tragically for us, on the 2nd of Menachem Av, Hashem decided this was not meant to be, and Chaim's neshama was returned to his creator. And there I was, sitting at my son's bedside thinking, how did this happen? We davened so hard. So many people said so many tilim for him. This was going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 18 days. How is it possible? And I understood very clearly that just like a father sometimes says no to their child because they know that what they are asking for is not in their best interest, so too in this regard, Hashem said to us, no. The answer is no. Chaim cannot continue living in this world, but he'll continue living in the world to come, and we'll come back to that. So when I sat at my son's bedside and I was totally devastated, as you can well imagine, I sent a message and I posted it on the 2 groups that were saying these tilim. And I made very clear there that Lo Aleinu, Chaim had passed away, but that I wanted them to know, and I wanted to thank them for every single capital tilim, chapter of tilim, every bit of davening, every mitzvah, everything they did. I wanted to thank them because I firmly believed that none of that was in vain, that each chapter of tilim, each prayer that was said, each mitzvah that was done had formed a beautiful chariot. And this was the chariot that was going to accompany Chaim on high when he returned his neshama to Hashem, to his creator. So everything counted. Did we get the desired answer that we wanted? The desired outcome that we wanted? No, we didn't. We definitely didn't. But we got the outcome evidently, that we needed, the one that Hashem wanted us to have. And it was hard. It still is hard. This was only 5 months ago. It was tragic. It was hectic. It was painful. But then we said, hold on. This is our reality. We can't ask Hashem why, because if we understood why, we would be Hashem. We don't understand why. We need to ask, what can we do? How do we go forward? How do we continue living? And this I'll come back to, because we as a family chose life. We chose to live life to its fullest, because we felt that that was so important and in the best interest of our son Chaim, and for sure would be best for his neshama. The pain and devastation and inability to function properly that happens after you lose a loved one is really hard to describe. You find it difficult to put one step in front of the other. You almost want to stand still. You want to go back in time. You want to relive and redo and think if you did something differently, maybe it would have changed. But no, it wouldn't have changed. At the time when we were going through this, I said to people, I don't know why we have to go through this hellish experience for so long, day after day, ups and downs, working, not working. Why? But I did understand in the end. I understood that you can't change the time that you're going to pass away. Hashem has decreed, has decided what that is going to be. And then, at the correct time, it will be so. So on the 2nd of Av, 18 days into this nightmare, that was the time that Chaim needed to pass away. But again, during those 18 days, mitzvahs and davening and tilim was all done in his merit. And that obviously stood him in very good stead. So where does that leave us with our son? The Lubavitcher Rebbe actually refers to a person who has passed away, and he says that person just moves to the next floor. The connection is very much there. In fact, we are taught that in many ways the connection is more so there. The neshama, the soul that is now in the next phase of the true world, of Olam HaEmes as we refer to it, of the world to come, is able to connect much better with family and with friends and to impact the family specifically on high. What are we not supposed to do? And this is a hard one. We are not supposed to perpetually be crying and mourning and sad. Now you might say that's easy for you to say. Well, it's not so easy for me to say because I lost my son, but I did learn that that's not going to bring him back, and it also is not going to be in the best interest of the neshama. The neshama needs to do what it has to do on high, and by you pulling it down to this world or trying to pull it down to this world, you are not enabling it to do what it needs to do. And very interesting, so I'm a firm believer that everything in life happens for a reason, and years ago I happened to go to a Yom HaZikaron ceremony, Day of Remembrance, when we remember all soldiers or victims of terror who have fallen in Israel. And there was a bereaved mother brought out from Israel, and she spoke. And she told the following story. She said, one day I was standing in my kitchen, and all of a sudden I saw the army, some soldiers approaching my window. And I immediately understood that something had happened to my son. He at the time was serving in the army. And she said they came in, and they gave us the horrific news that our son had been killed. And I couldn't accept it. We had the funeral, we had shiva, we did what we needed to do, but I would not accept the fact that my son had gone. And day by day, I got into a worse and worse state, she explains. And I just wasn't functioning. I wasn't good to myself or for myself. I wasn't good for my family. I wasn't good for anyone or anything. And she said, one night I had a dream. And in the dream, I was at this unbelievable party. And this party was a party in Gan Eden, a party in heaven. And there was music, and people were smiling, and people were happy. So I started looking for my son. I wanted to check that he was also happy, that he was also smiling. And I moved through the crowds of people, she said, and obviously she said there were certain people that she recognized who had passed away over the years, and she couldn't find her son. And she said in the dream she remembers clearly that she was getting into a state, where's her son, where's her son? And she eventually got to the very end of the room. And there at the end of the room in the corner was a chair, and her son was sitting on the chair, but he wasn't happy, and he wasn't smiling, and he wasn't dancing like the other people were. And she said she went over to him and she said to him, my son, why are you like this? Why are you sitting like this in the corner? And why are you not as happy as all the other neshamas, all the other souls up here in Shamayim? And he turned around and he said to her, because mommy, you are not letting me. You have to let me go. And for some reason, Hashem made me remember that story. And I remember it so clearly, I can see the woman in front of me telling it. He made me remember that story because he needed that message to get across to me. And I understood clearly when our son passed away that we have to let go. But what does that really mean? That means we haven't forgotten about him. On the contrary, we have a picture in our house of him, obviously a new photo, which I look at every single day. I speak to him, more in my mind when I'm davening. I try and connect with him. We make sure that our grandsons hear about their father all the time, day in and day out. We make sure as a family that we try and perpetuate all the wonderful mitzvahs that our son did. As I said, for many, many years, he volunteered for Hatzalah. He was a Baal Chesed. He was a man of kindness. He was a man of goodness. He was a man of tzedakah. He was a man of Avas Yisrael. He loved his fellow Jew. He cared about people. And I can go on. And we try and perpetuate those mitzvahs. And why? Because we firmly believe that by perpetuating those mitzvahs, we will do good, both for our son's neshama on high and for all of us down here in this world. And that enables us also not only to connect to him, but obviously to remember him and to perpetuate everything that he did in this world in a better way. So no davening, no prayer you say when a person is sick is ever in vain. But yes, sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes you're not going to get the answer you want for something that you feel you need, because Hashem knows that maybe you don't need it. And this brings me to another point, a point of bitachon. Bitachon is faith. Not emunah, which is belief. You believe that Hashem created the world, but bitachon is you trust in him. Now trust means that whatever Hashem does, I believe is for the best because I trust in him. I trust that he knows what he's doing. I trust that he will only do what is best for me. We do not believe that Hashem does things to harm us or to make us sad or to make our lives difficult, even if it seems that that is the way. Life is like a tapestry. If you look at the back of a tapestry, it's a whole balagan of different pieces of wool and you can't see the picture. But if you turn it around, you see the most beautiful picture, complete and whole in its totality. Why? Because that's the way Hashem sees the world. He knows every conceivable thing that needs to happen in order for him to be able to see the full picture. And we don't get to see the full picture. Maybe we will never get to see the full picture until Mashiach comes. But if we trust in Hashem, we know and we will believe and we will be comforted to know that he is doing what he is doing because it's best for us. And yes, that doesn't make sense. And yes, that seems absolutely impossible. But let me ask you, if Hashem can take care of the entire world, of every conceivable person, and every conceivable creation, and every conceivable thing that is going on, an incident, at one specific moment in time, if he can take care of all of that, can he not take care of you as an individual? Do you think he's going to let you down? He's not going to let you down. What he is doing is evidently what is best. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But let's go back a second. Let's remember, we're not cut off from that person who passes away. We have the ability through davening, through doing mitzvahs, through perpetuating what that person did. We have the ability to stay connected, and even more connected maybe, with the neshama of the person, and we know that it's the neshama that counts. It's not the actual physical body, it's the actual neshama that counts. And that is what is sitting on high. And by us doing mitzvahs, and by us staying connected, we are able to ensure that the neshama has an aliyah, the neshama continues climbing higher, and at the same time, the neshama, that person, stays deeply connected to us. It's not an easy road. It's not an easy journey. But it's important, I do believe, and I can only talk about us as a family, to choose life. Because of what benefit would it be to anyone if, God forbid, when any one of us suffer a tragedy, we choose to die, in inverted commas, along with that person who passed away? That's not helping anyone. That's not helping the neshama. And it's certainly not helping the people who are left behind. We, thank God, are blessed with other children. We are blessed with our daughter-in-law, Liat, the wife of our son Chaim, 3 beautiful grandsons. Our 3rd grandson was born to Liat and Chaim a week after he passed away. And I do believe strongly, when we were sitting in the nursing home when Liat was giving birth to our grandson, is called Ariel, when she was giving birth to him, I firmly felt, and I was saying to Hillel, I felt that Chaim was there. And it was the most tragic of circumstances. But Liat told me afterwards that she felt that Chaim was there. And she still feels that Chaim is there. She still feels that Chaim is involved on a day-to-day basis in a different way. In a different way. He's not there physically. We understand that. He's in the next level. He's on the next floor. But he is still connected to us and with us. And we will ensure that that stays that way, please God. So again, sometimes Hashem will say no to what you're asking for, just like sometimes a parent says no to a child. But Hashem knows best. We need to have that bitachon. We need to have that trust in Hashem. And we need to know that if, God forbid, a person is sick, there is no tefillah, no prayer, no chapter of Tehillim, no mitzvah that is done in vain, because all of those will be taken together and will accompany that person on high, if, God forbid, that is their destiny. Wishing everybody, just please God, continued good news, brachas, happiness, light in your lives, and of course the revelation of Mashiach now.